Deep in the heart of a forgotten forest, where nature and waste had begun to clash, an extraordinary story of survival was about to unfold. The air was thick with humidity, the buzzing of insects, and the faint smell of decay that rose from piles of discarded trash. Plastic bottles, broken machinery, rusted cans, and even strange, oversized snail shells from a long-abandoned farm. Hidden within this chaos, a majestic male lion lay motionless. His golden mane, once a crown of power, was matted with mud and tangled garbage. His paws were caught beneath a twisted mass of debris, and an enormous snail shell, hardened like stone, pinned his hind legs to the earth. For days, his mighty roars had echoed through the valley, growing weaker with each sunrise. The forest had fallen silent, as if holding its breath, unsure whether its king would live or die. When the first rescue call came through, no one believed it. A lion trapped by a giant snail shell? That doesn't make sense, one rescuer muttered as they loaded their truck. But the report was real. A wildlife ranger had spotted movement on a drone feed, showing a lion struggling beneath layers of waste dumped illegally near the forest edge. The team moved fast, racing against time in the scorching afternoon sun. As they approached the site, a chilling sight greeted them. The lion's eyes, once fierce and commanding, were now dull yet pleading. The lead rescuer, a woman named Aisha, stepped forward, her boots sinking into the soft, foul-smelling ground. "He's still breathing," she said softly, waving the others to bring the net and tranquilizer kit. But time was short. The lion's breaths were shallow, and his body trembled from exhaustion. Every move he made sent pain shooting through his legs, as the hard shell pressed deeper into his fur and skin. The team couldn't just pull it off. One wrong move could crush his bones. "We need to cut to the garbage first," said Amir, the field technician, his voice shaking slightly. Hidden within this chaos, a majestic male lion lay motionless. His golden mane, once a crown of power, was matted with mud and tangled garbage. Aisha whispered, "Easy, big boy, we're here to help." Her voice carried calm determination, the kind only people who truly loved animals could hold. As the minutes turned to hours, sweat ran down their faces, and the jungle's heat pressed in from all sides. One of the rescuers sprayed water gently across the lion's back to keep him cool, while another cleared broken plastic away from his mane. The camera crew, sent to document the operation, captured every tense moment, their lenses trembling as the saw whirred inches from the lion's trapped body. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed. The lion let out a weak but defiant growl, as if warning them not to give up. "That's it," Aisha whispered. "He's still fighting." The team drew strength from his spirit. Piece by piece, they began removing the layers that imprisoned him, ropes, bottles, even a torn fishing net that had wound around his tail. But the hardest part was still ahead. The giant snail shell fused to his hindquarters like a cage of stone. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the scene. The rescue wasn't over yet. It was only beginning. Night descended like a curtain, heavy and still. The forest around the rescue site was alive with unseen eyes, owls, insects, even hyenas lurking beyond the lights. Flood lamps illuminated the lion's body, casting a golden glow over his wounded mane. The rescuers refused to leave. "If we walk away now, he won't make it till morning," Aisha said. Her team nodded, their faces smeared with dust and sweat. They wrapped cooling cloths around the lion's legs, his breathing shallow but steady. "He's fighting," whispered Amir. The camera recorded everything, every breath, every heartbeat, every flicker of hope. As hours passed, exhaustion gripped the rescuers. But the lion's faint roars reminded them that giving up was not an option. When Aisha finally sat down beside him, she spoke softly. "You were born to rule this forest. We won't let garbage become your grave." In the distance, thunder rumbled. A storm was coming. The rain would make the garbage slippery, the snail shell even harder to move. They had to act fast. The team repositioned ropes around the shell, tying them to a portable crane attached to their truck. As the first drops began to fall, Aisha gave the signal. "Pull!" The engine roared, the rope stretched, and the snail shell groaned against the lion's trapped body. Mud splattered everywhere. For a moment, Nothing happened, then a crack echoed. Pull! The engine roared, the rope stretched, and the snail shell groaned against the lion's trapped body. Mud splattered everywhere. For a moment, nothing happened, then a crack echoed. Lightning flashed across the sky, and in that instant, Aisha saw the lion's eyes, wide open, glistening in the storm, filled with both pain and fierce will. The forest king was not done fighting. The next blow of thunder marked the turning point. With one final pull, the giant shell split apart, sending shards rolling through the mud. The team froze as the lion let out a roar, deep, guttural, and raw, a sound that shook the night. It wasn't a cry of anger, but freedom. For the first time in days, his body was his own again. He tried to stand, his legs trembling, but he stumbled back into the dirt. Easy, easy, Aisha whispered, motioning for the vet to step in. They approached carefully, wrapping thick cloths around his hind legs to stop the bleeding. Amir sprayed antiseptic mist, while another rescuer used a portable fan to keep him cool. "We got him," someone whispered, tears in their eyes. "We actually got him." The rain eased into a light drizzle. The smell of wet earth filled the air as the team lifted the snail shell pieces away from the site. Underneath, they discovered deep marks on the lion's fur, impressions from plastic and hardened debris that had pressed against him for too long. It was a sight that broke their hearts. All this because of garbage, Aisha murmured. She looked around at the piles of human waste surrounding them, a silent reminder of what neglect could do. The team moved quickly to bandage the wounds, giving the lion fluids through a tube. "Stay with us, big boy," Amir said softly. The lion blinked slowly, his eyes heavy but alive. Cameras zoomed in as Aisha whispered, "You're free now, you did it." The sound of rain mixed with soft sobs from the team. For a few seconds, the world seemed to pause, man and beast united in a quiet moment of victory. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving behind silver mist and quiet calm. The rescuers stood around the lion, now resting under a tarp, breathing peacefully. Bird began to sing. A new day had begun, but their mission wasn't over. The lion was too weak to walk, so they built a stretcher from bamboo poles and thick canvas. "We'll carry him," Aisha said firmly. It took 6 people to lift the stretcher. Step by step, they moved through the forest, their boots sinking into wet soil. Every sound, the squish of mud, the creak of ropes, the faint hum of insects, blended into the rhythm of rescue. Villagers along the forest path gathered in silence as the team emerged, carrying the unconscious lion like a fallen hero. Some crossed their hearts, others whispered prayers. They had never seen a lion up close before, let alone one saved from such horror. Hours later, the team reached the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Veterinarians were waiting with clean blankets and warm lamps. As they gently transferred the lion onto a padded table, Aisha exhaled deeply, her body trembling with relief. "He's home now," she said. The vet nodded, checking the lion's vitals. "He'll survive," he replied, smiling. The entire team erupted in quiet cheers. The footage would later show that moment, the light returning to their faces after the longest night of their lives. The rain, the mud, the exhaustion, it all faded in that single heartbeat when hope finally won. And as the camera panned across the sleeping lion, the narrator's voice would say, "This is what happens when compassion rises above chaos. Even the mightiest fall, but with kindness, they can rise again." The next few days passed like slow motion. The once roaring lion now lay in a quiet enclosure, wrapped in soft straw, a gentle breeze moving to the open windows of the rescue center. His body was weak, but his eyes, those fierce golden eyes, were waking up again. Every morning, Aisha arrived before sunrise with a bowl of fresh water and a small piece of meat soaked in medicine. "Morning, King," she'd whisper, smiling. Cameras recorded every little improvement. The first twitch of his tail, the first lift of his head, the moment he tried to stand and stumbled, then tried again. Viewers across the world would later watch this footage, tears streaming down their faces. The video wasn't just about a rescue. It was about the unbreakable bond between strength and care. Behind the scenes, the team worked tirelessly. Veterinarians cleaned his wounds twice a day, Nutritionists monitored his meals, and volunteers sat nearby reading softly, so he'd grow used to human voices again. He listens, one said. He knows we saved him. Aisha often stood by the enclosure at night, her flashlight dim, watching him breathe. You'll walk again, she whispered, as if promising Botham and herself. Outside, the moonlight touched the same forest that had once nearly taken his life, now calm and glistening. The air smelled clean after the rains. In that peace, she realized his rescue was more than saving one lion. It was a message to the world. The piles of garbage, the broken plastics, the shells that never should have been there, all of it was humanity's mirror. And maybe, just maybe, this story could make people care enough to change. 3 weeks later, the gates of the rehabilitation center opened. The lion, now strong again, paced slowly inside his transport crate. His mane had been trimmed, his eyes clear and proud. The sun painted the horizon in gold, as if the world itself was ready to welcome him back. Ready? Aisha asked, her voice trembling. The team nodded. Cameras rolled. The moment the crate door opened, a hush fell over everyone. The lion stepped out, cautious at first, then lifted his head high. The wind blew through his mane, and for a heartbeat, he looked like a king returning to his throne. He sniffed the air, growled softly, and took his first free steps into the wild. The forest answered with the rustle of leaves and the distant call of birds. It was as if nature herself was cheering him home. Aisha watched in silence, tears streaming down her cheeks. Go on, she whispered. The world is yours again. The lion paused at the edge of the trees, turned his head one last time toward the humans who had saved him, and then disappeared into the greenery. The camera zoomed out, capturing the empty crate, the tracks in the mud, and the vast forest beyond. The narrator's voice would rise softly over emotional music. We share this planet with beings of strength and grace, but when our waste becomes their prison, it is our hands that must set them free. The video ended with the words, respect nature, protect wildlife. Every rescue begins with you. As the screen faded to black, millions who watched it online were left speechless. The story of the lion trapped by a giant snail shell in garbage became a symbol of hope across the world, a reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can restore the roar of a king.